Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, my name is Parker Nierenstein, and this is Vehicle Virgins. Over the years, I've done some amazing videos with my dad and some of his cars. We've had an absolute blast, but I've never actually done a tour of his garage. So I thought, what better than to include my dad and go through one by one some of his awesome cars. Hello. All right, so I figured we'd start with this. This is the most recent car you've gotten. How many miles have you put on this so far?
2,100 change.
Nice. Some of you guys remember about a year or maybe coming up on 2 years ago, took delivery of this at Galpin Ford with my dad. Epic day, drove my Speciale Aperta there, picked this up. Can we trade, please? So what have some of your favorite parts been about owning the car, or what it's like to drive, or just in general about the Ford GT?
You know, I guess the favorite thing would be this car is probably as close to an open wheel formula car that you can drive on the street. So it's kind of like a laser compared to some of the other cars. It goes exactly where you point it. It stops ridiculously fast, so the technology's awesome, and it's just a blast to drive.
And it's pretty freaking cool looking as well.
It is pretty cool looking.
All right, in typical Vehicle Virgins fashion, what are the 5 things you hate about this car?
Okay, number one, you can't really drive it for an overnight trip because there is literally no room to pack anything.
Yeah, it is interesting. There's no space behind the rear seats for any type of storage whatsoever. And then normally in a mid-engine supercar, you'd have an okay sized front trunk, but there's actually no space whatsoever under here. It's just for fluids.
Basically, yeah.
All right, what else?
Literally fluids. You know, number two is because of the design of the car, which is spectacularly cool, it's really narrow inside. So if you sit next to somebody who's bigger than I am, you're literally rubbing your shoulders together while you're driving the entire time. So it's a little cramped inside, but you know, I don't care.
All right, number 3.
You know, there is no number 3, 4, or 5.
All right, number 3 is that I don't have one. Moving on to the next one, you'll see a theme here. My dad is an enormous Ford fan, which I think I know the reason why that is, but why is that?
My first car was a '66 Mustang K-Code Fastback that I got when I was 16 years old and fell in love with it. And they're just easy to work on. They're well built, and I've just had a history of having a bunch of Fords.
There you go.
Yeah. So
this is his 1965 Shelby Gt350. For those of you who have been with the channel for an extremely long time, 1, thank you, and 2, you might remember this, might not. Me and my dad did an insane rally called, what was it, the Great Race?
Great Race.
Where we drove like 2,000 miles across the country in that. And it wasn't a race, it was more, you had to match an exact specific time. So it told you to go 25 miles an hour for 0.5 miles and then go 35 miles an hour for 40 seconds. And it was both really fun and a total pain in the butt at the same time. 2 minutes and 16.9 seconds between signs. And then I've got a lap timer here that I'm gonna use splits for to measure. We're at 1 minute and 2 seconds. That's the speedo up there saying we're going 50 miles an hour, but as you can imagine, it's pretty hard to keep it exactly 50, especially when you start going up hills. This thing is awesome. It sounds absolutely insane, and it's in absolutely spectacular condition. What are some of your favorite parts about the Shelby?
It makes the best noise of any car I've ever owned. We should probably start it.
I think that's a good idea. What, it has glass pack mufflers?
Yes, it does. Headers to glass packs.
And what are glass packs for the modern car enthusiast who has no idea what the heck that is?
Yeah, so for anybody under 50 or 60, back when I was a teenager having a car, they would pack mufflers literally with glass fiber to make a particular sound. We had mufflers called cherry bombs and things like that, and they would make a particular sound. Now they do it more with baffling as opposed to using glass fiber. It's kind of like the insulation that you'd put in your roof. And, you know, used to be back in the day when you blew your muffler out, all this stuff would come shooting out of it. So, yeah.
Well, now that just happens when you blow the cats out of your car.
Yeah, true.
All right, the loudest car in the garage. Let's hear it. Yeah, that's epic. Smells amazing.
Yeah, best noise ever.
Little peek at the interior. Next, moving on to the 2006 Ford GT. This is actually one of the first videos that ever blew up on my channel, was a 5 things I hate about the Ford GT. That's kind of what I was joking about, having my dad give a 5 things he hates about the other one.
No car is perfect, however, so here are some of the things I hate about the Ford GT.
Absolutely an incredible car, and I think the Golf livery, this was the only Heritage Edition they made of the first generation Ford GT, but honestly, I think the Heritage Edition that's in Golf for the new GT is the coolest. And the fact that they match, I'm so jealous. This is freaking ridiculous. Favorite parts about this car?
You know, this one, so where the new one is like a laser, this one is like a machete. It's a blown V8 that makes a ridiculous noise. It's a manual transmission. It has no traction control. It's just a ridiculous car to drive, and it also gets you in trouble really quickly, whereas the other one is so confidence-inspiring, it almost drives itself. So much more challenging, much more fun to drive in some ways.
It is crazy the difference in 13 years between this car and the new one. It's kind of the last generation of cars, this and the Carrera GT and cars of that ilk, that have no stability control, are just raw manuals, and you can easily end up hurting yourself. But it kind of makes it all the more fun. Take a peek at the interior here. The other day, I actually filmed a how to drift tutorial using this car. One of the reasons why I use this car is it was actually on the original 2006 Eagle F1 tires, which is incredibly unsafe. So a lot of people who collect these cars, who haven't put a ton of miles on them, haven't ever changed the tires, but just because they have 300 miles on it or 3,000 miles on it doesn't mean that the tires don't need to be replaced. It goes through a million different heat cycles, and over 13 years or 15 years, eventually they're gonna become hockey pucks, and this thing loses traction, both without traction control and with that old of tires so easily. So I filmed a how to drift tutorial to kind of burn up those old useless tires, but what I didn't anticipate happening is because they were so old and so hard, they flaked apart in chunks, and I drifted it for all of 3 minutes before the tires were completely destroyed. I'll put some clips of drifting it because it was an absolute blast. Things you don't like about this?
Okay, number one, you can't really take it on a trip because it has absolutely no sticking.
All right, Ford.
What the hell, Ford?
That's a theme.
Really?
I mean, once again, this front trunk area might even be smaller than the new one. It's just fluids in there as well, right?
Yeah.
Nothing at all. And yeah, that's all the storage you get. It does have a lot more space in the interior from a side-to-side perspective, though. Less of a teardrop-shaped cabin, which they really tried to go for with this, which I think is one of the coolest designs ever because it's got those flying buttresses, but you do get pretty friendly with your passenger. Anything else? Probably not.
No.
Sounds cool.
Sounds great.
Manual, drives awesome.
Yeah.
And then we got this thing, which most people probably have no idea what it is. I certainly wouldn't probably have heard of it if my dad didn't have one. This is a 1954 Kaiser Darren. And what a lot of people don't know is that this was actually the first ever mass-produced fiberglass car. It wasn't the Corvette. This actually was first. And it's got some of the craziest doors of any car. They actually slide inside the front quarter panels, which is pretty cool. Why'd you get this thing, and what do you like about it?
You know, so I saw one of these at a car show 30 years ago. Are you zooming the back of my head?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Any bald spots?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just looking at what my future hairdo will look like.
Yeah, trust me. And I just fell in love with the design of the car. It was just a spectacular car. And so I chased one for a while and found this one about, I think the year you were born, 1994, I want to say. This was one of my first, actually probably the first literally nut and bolt restoration. I took the body off the frame, every single nut and bolt in this car I either restored or replaced. So it's got kind of a soft spot in my heart.
Has this thing been in Pebble Beach? In the Concours?
No, it has not. It's been in almost every other one on the West Coast other than Pebble Beach.
Definitely a very unique, cool looking car. The front grille kind of reminds me of like a small Darth Vader mouth, but I like the way this thing looks. Do you have a picture of it on the wall somewhere? Because it's kind of hard to see what it looks like from all the way up there.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's a really cool sketch of it. That's awesome. And got some awesome pictures up there. And then we got this, which is a 1966 Ford Bronco, sort of. It's in pieces. So what are you doing with this?
So this is, as you can see, a body off restoration is the way I like to do cars when I do all of them.
Do you like to do cars? That's kind of...
Yeah, well, it's a child-friendly channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, remove the body. I'm doing a couple tasteful upgrades to this. In '66, you could have ordered a 289. So I've actually put a 289 in it that I sourced from a '66 Mustang. The original motor is over there, which is a 170 cubic inch straight six.
Yeah, that's pretty dinky.
Which, yeah, didn't quite cut it for what I wanted. So I beefed up the motor a little bit, and I actually put in an automatic transmission, a C4 automatic. Otherwise it had what was called 3 on a tree, and for you guys in the channel that don't know what that is, it's a 3-speed that was on the column, and you would shift it one hand on the steering wheel and one hand on the shift on the column. They used to call it 3 on a tree. So most of my off-road buddies tell me that they prefer having an automatic transmission, because if you get kind of sideways, having not to deal with the clutch is a little bit easier, one less thing to deal with.
So you've fully restored this to then go off-roading?
Yeah. Yeah, another goal is to do the Baja 250 when I'm done.
I'm learning things I didn't even know during this video, so that's pretty cool. Am I a co-pilot?
We'll see.
All right. So how long do you think you got left on this? Or how many hours have you put into it so far?
I think I'm 6 months into it.
Gotcha.
Let's say. And I probably got another 6 months.
Yeah, so I'll put a picture right here of what it looked like unrestored when he bought it. And then I think it'd be cool. I'm making an effort to visit Northern California more often, so I think it'd be awesome to do little periodic updates on the Bronco. If you guys are interested, leave a comment below to let me know how this thing progresses over time. So something that's really exciting that me and my dad are doing this weekend is called the 24 Hours of Lemons. I've seen this race happen at we're at Sonoma Raceway right now a handful of times, and it is one of the funniest, coolest races I have ever seen. So what you do is, it's like 24 Hour of Le Mans, but kind of not really like that whatsoever. Everyone has to buy a car for under $500. So the car my dad's friend found for us to race in is a 1985 Alfa GT V6, 5-speed manual. It's actually pretty light, it weighs 2,600 pounds, but it makes an enormous 155 horsepower. The good news is what? There's different classes, right?
Different classes.
So it'll be interesting. Have you driven a Lemons race? Was it in this car?
Yes.
And how competitive is the car?
You know, we're kind of mid-pack, little above mid-pack.
All right. So I'm honestly super excited. We're doing it at Thunderhill Raceway. I've been there twice now. We did a Hooked on Driving event maybe 7 years ago, something like that.
Long time ago.
And then more recently, about a year ago, I did that Tesla Model 3 performance launch event there. So I got a little bit more experience, but it's gonna be a long Saturday and Sunday of racing all day. It's gonna be 100 degrees Saturday and 106 degrees on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're about to go buy cool shirts show you what those are all about. There's some funny old stuff up here. This little supersonic thing is what I learned to drive on when I was 3 years old. Not really, it's a pedal car, but then built this model plane with my dad back in the day and actually helped restore this old Super Rat bike a long time ago. I will say probably the weirdest thing about my dad's car collection is all those Ford and American cars, and you daily drive a Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, Tundra.
What's that about? I guess reliable, right?
It's the best. It's got 300,000 miles on it. 2008.
Does it really?
Well, 292, 347.
Oh my God. So this is probably the only thing keeping me alive this weekend, because like I said, it's gonna be 106 degrees. These tubes are gonna be plugged into a tank full of ice water, and they actually run water that'll cool me down through the shirt underneath my race suit, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, hence the name Cool Shirt. Well guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button, because in the next video, I'm gonna be racing 24 Hour of Lemons, and it's gonna be absolutely a blast. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. Look forward to seeing you next video.